Hello YouTube! The heatwave in Europe officially reached its peak, so in today's video I'll show you how I managed to catch a few fish despite the extreme conditions. A few days earlier I upgraded the setup on my Cetus Angler 95, so I grabbed my paddleboard and headed out to test it. The air temperature reached 40 degrees Celsius during the day, so even in the late afternoon it was barely possible to breathe outside. I dropped the anchor at my first spot and entered the sea. I carefully loaded the new 18mm band and everything felt great. I started in the shallows, but it looked completely empty. The sea temperature had reached 28 degrees Celsius, so there was no need for a wetsuit. I spotted a few golden grey mullets and tried to get close, but they were simply too fast. A little later I saw another mullet swimming near the surface and took the shot. The hit was low, the fish tore off and escaped. That always frustrates me, but there was nothing I could do, so I reloaded and moved on. I came across this Gilthead Seabream, but it looked a bit too small, so I decided to let it go. As you can see, there were barely any fish around, so I pulled the anchor and paddled to another spot. I completely overlooked this shoal of salpas and they disappeared within seconds. 3 fish rushed beneath me, so I quickly took the shot. The long shot connected perfectly and it turned out to be a beautiful striped Seabream. I reloaded and continued searching. Soon after, I spotted a shoal of golden grey mullets feeding on the bottom, but they moved so quickly that I simply couldn't keep up. Later, while exploring this murky area, I noticed a sea bass swimming on the bottom at around 5 meters deep. I immediately dove down and prepared for the shot. The hit was solid, so all I had to do was pull it closer and the fish was mine. It wasn't a big catch, but considering the poor visibility, I was really happy with how the day was going. I tried shooting another golden grey mullet, but missed. After reloading, the wishbone has started to fray, although I haven't seen it at the time. A few minutes later, it finally snapped. At first, I thought the trigger mechanism had misfired. Luckily, I always carry about 3 meters of spare Dyneema on my paddleboard for emergencies. I cut off a short piece, folded it in half and created a loop to effectively double its strength. The single 18mm band generates roughly 50 kilograms of force, while this Dyneema is rated for a 100 kilogram fish. Because all that force is concentrated on such a small area, even double Dyneema is working close to its limit. I tied a simple overhand knot on both sides and trimmed off the excess line. It wasn't pretty, but it was more than good enough for the final hour before sunset. First, I loaded the band onto the first shark fin to make sure everything would hold. Once I fully loaded it, the repair held perfectly. Looks like my improvise, adapt, overcome repair worked. At my next spot, I did an ambush at around 12 meters. At first, everything looked completely lifeless. Fish have their preferred thermoclimate, and during extreme heat they often move into deeper depths to stay comfortable. The visibility here was actually about as good as it got compared to the other murky locations. I had already been waiting for almost a minute without seeing anything, so I started calling. A few breams appeared in the distance, but nothing came close enough. The spot was slowly becoming more active, so I stayed focused. Then this small dentex appeared and casually swam past in the distance. Nothing ever came within range, and after almost 2 minutes I decided to surface. A little later I spotted a couple of golden grey mullets feeding on the sand. I slowly dove down and took the shot. The hit was perfect right through the middle, so I simply pulled the fish in while ascending. I tried getting another one, but by then they already knew something was wrong and became far too cautious. Back home, I filleted the mullet, made a tortilla for dinner, and froze the other 2 fish for another day. That's all for today's video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, as it helps the algorithm and ensures you won't miss out on the future content. You can also support the channel directly by clicking the super thanks button below the video. Thanks for watching and stay safe while diving.